Welcome, everybody. I'm going to be your trainer tonight, Vicky Hanna. This is Certificate 4 in Youth Work, and we are beginning our night with some reflections and what's the body of your assessment work for this particular unit. So your unit is CHCCDE019. And it is work within a community development framework. So at the moment, the class is in breakout room and they're discussing what is going to be the project that they're going to select. And there's a selection of 6 that you can do for this particular assessment. So as youth workers, we all work in a program or a service model. So how do we work with young people? What type of program are we going to involve them in? This one, you need to do some research about what would you like to do as a program, and you're going to need to do some data, some background, and some research around that as well. So just before we get too advanced, I wanted to do our acknowledgement to country. We acknowledge the traditional owners of the land where we work, study and live, and pay our respects to elders past, present and emerging. We celebrate the stories, culture and traditions of Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander elders of all communities who also work and live on this land. And I'd like to extend our acknowledgement out to any of our learners that identify as First Nation and Torres Strait Island people, and anyone who may be watching in the recording as well. So let's do a little bit of an overview. Some housekeeping is when you come into live classes. This particular class, Cert 4 in Youth Work, also likes to have their live classes recorded, and we have a rich discussion around that. But some housekeeping is anything we say in here, de-identify, don't share it if someone shares any lived experience story with you. We still need to come together in this space as colleagues. If you need to step away for whatever reason, I know you're working from home. This is an adult space. Just turn your camera off and listen in the background if you like. And if you cannot participate, but you still want to be here and be connected, that's okay as well. When I send people into a breakout room, you still have that option not to join. I will put people in the wait room until the breakout room return. So the reflection is selecting a particular project that you're going to do as your assessment. And we're going to talk about that in groups, and that's where everyone is at the moment, doing their breakout room. They're going to select what project and why. So the first part of this is you'll need to research and analyse the needs and priorities of one particular community group. And that group, is going to be the one that you pick. That will be your project. You'll get some evidence, some data around that as well. Think about what might be a gap in your community or something that really interests you. You may know about a project already, or you may want to launch something of your own. So let me just. Okay, so we're back, and just in building on where we're up to, task 2 has 3 parts. Part A is select your project and get ready to do your research. Get your data. You're going to need to do referencing. It'll be evidence-based data on, you might decide that you want to do something around career planning and underemployment or unemployment. So you'll need to know what is the unemployment percentage in your postcode and compare that with the national average. Are you more employed or underemployed with your young people in your target group? I'll talk to you when everyone comes back out of their room on where we can find that data, and you'll need to be able to provide evidence. But there's 6 topics that you can choose from, and you're going to create a development plan that you can launch into your community of the topic of your choice. And here are the 6 that we can select. You can choose domestic and family violence, and you might want to do a program around that. We had one person studying youth work who decided there are a lot of young guys who were connected to families where there wasn't a father figure in their family unit, but they weren't learning some of those things because the mother, if they were the sole parent, may not have been able to show them how to change a tire or mow a lawn or go fishing. So he decided to choose fishing as his project, and he planned around it. He had a look at how many places there were, how to launch those projects out there in the community, and who might like to do some donations around it. Now, it was all hypothetical, but there's also been some people who have done this study and they have done their project and launched that project with their local council. So it's entirely up to you whether you want to pitch a project that is real or hypothetical. It might be someone who is dealing with substance misuse. So look, AA and NA, so Alcoholics Anonymous and Narcotics Anonymous, both have family programs, but there's drug diversion programs as well, and they are targeted for young people. So you might decide that you want to do the education and awareness around that. Your target group will be young people. I'm based in Queensland, and in Queensland, every young person that goes through our school system has a program called Harold the Giraffe. And Harold the Giraffe talks to young people up to the age of 12, just before they go into high school. But there is no dependence and addiction programs that are run in the schools, other than some that don't really talk about the long-term effects of that. And addiction is a pattern of behavior. It's not always addiction around a substance. It can be addiction around gaming, vaping, other things as well. That might be the topic that you choose. Youth at risk. And it's such a broad topic, but what target group? How old are they? What do you want to offer that particular target group? Career planning, housing and homelessness, health and well-being. So a really popular housing and homelessness program is the tenancy program, and that is delivered to show all tenants how they will be a better tenant and be able to keep that tenancy. So they treat that as education and awareness. So when everyone comes back from their breakout room, we're going to have a look at which of the 6 that they've chosen and why. And we're going to share a discussion around that with everyone as well. Let me just hit pause on our until everybody comes back. Everybody back. So while you're in breakout room, I've been able to do an intro, a summary, and walk you through just a little bit of background as well. And I sent you into the breakout room with 6. Tessa, I'm sorry, I ended up recording and then didn't put the 6 up on the screen for you. But what I'm going to do now is just ask everybody to share what they think it's going to be. And if you're not comfortable speaking, then just drop it into our chat space here on the side, over here. Okay, that's great. Okay. All right. So, yeah, let's just pick. Has anyone been able to drill down and pick their topic for their project?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, away we go. One at a time, though. I'm recording you.
Dependence and addiction.
Okay, tell
Yep.
me why.
Just a lot of lived personal experience. Why I came into this field in the first place.
Fabulous.
Um, I do have a question though.
Yes,
When we're doing our project thing, can we be based in supporting out-of-home care?
absolutely.
Sweet.
That's your target group.
Yeah.
So there's different layers. One, you pick your project. Two, you've got to connect with your why. Three, you've got to identify your target group. And if they are in out-of-home care, that's your target group.
So I've got like a whole thing. I said in-home support for around people for around education on staying safe around drugs and one-on-one support to come in for people coming down or just need extra support in the moment of being really, mentally not okay.
Yeah, actually, that's a really critical time as well, isn't
Yeah,
it?
because I've dealt with a lot of that recently and I just think there's not enough support there.
Yeah, making sure that someone's keeping an eye on them, just
Yeah.
mental health
It's
first and first
specifically for
aid.
that person, like a first aider to come in when that young person's needing it.
Yeah. Okay, that's great. It's also when people are at such high risk of helpless, hopeless, and alone.
Yeah.
So if we're there, they're not alone.
Yeah.
We can't be there 24/7, but your project may have a whole team of volunteers
That's
who are
what I'm
going to be
thinking.
there. Yeah,
That's what I'm thinking.
wonderful. Love the idea, Chelsea. That's great. Um, Okay, Ben's going to do addiction and dependence as well. That's great. And Will, it's okay that you haven't made up your mind, but by week 3, we will be doing our role plays, our presentations, or you'll do your presentations with people from your WhatsApp group. So if you're not in this WhatsApp group, this is an amazing class. Please put that in and share your information, your number. And if someone from the WhatsApp group would be kind enough to just open that circle and include them in, that would be amazing. Thank you.
Thank you. Will
Thank
do.
you.
Yeah, so how do I join the WhatsApp group?
Yes,
I think someone will help you with it. It's
yes, please.
outside of Hader, but it's managed by the learners themselves, and they are very, very good support and stakeholders for each other. That's great. So, have I got another topic? We've got substance misuse and addiction.
I've chosen mine.
Yeah.
Domestic and family violence.
Okay. And what's your why, Tony?
My why is
Melinda.
Melinda. My why is because my family have dealt with it.
Yes.
Not me, but my siblings. They've dealt with that in their lives, and they both have children, and the children have suffered it. So that's my why, and that's why I've started this course.
Wonderful. That's great. So when we talk about your target group, where are they living? How old are they? Are they
The oldest
male,
is 16.
female?
2 males.
Yeah.
So the oldest one would be 16. The youngest one is 8. It's affected the 8-year-old more than the 16-year-old,
Okay.
I think. And the rest are females. The 2 oldest are girls, and it's affected them a bit. The 3 younger girls are my sisters, and they haven't been that affected. My niece, who is 7, she's got anxiety and stuff from it. But my youngest nephew, doesn't like going to school, doesn't like being away. He has, what's it called when separation anxiety from his mum.
Yeah.
Can't sleep over at a friend's house, can't do anything.
Sure.
Refuses to go to school. And I've read about it in one of the things I was doing the other day, how it can affect the kids going to school and all that. So that's the main reason why I've done this course, is because of the kids in my family.
No,
and my
that's great.
sister.
Yeah.
But
no, that's amazing, Melinda. Thank
Yeah.
you. It's going to be
That's
something
right.
you've got to hold on to while you're
Yeah.
doing the research project. You've got to have an understanding of your why, because as we walk you through the template, you've got to look at it through the lens of who is going to benefit. Why am I doing it? Is this just because I think it's needed? But where's my evidence to support that? So you're going to need to capture the data, the national data around victim survivors of domestic family violence, and some of those presenting issues for young people. And your target group, when we're working with young people, it is 12 to 24, but you can identify that you could run 2 programs and break up the age group, the one model, but you would do maybe more art therapy for the younger ones, or clay modeling, or boundary bracelets, or something like that for the little ones. And you might do, though the bigger ones will say, we want that too. And then the bigger ones might want how to talk about their feelings, how to do breathing, box breathing. It's whichever things you want to add into your program, you're going to have to think about, what am I doing? Why am I doing it? How will I know it's effective? So it's got to be smart. You've got to be able to be specific, and you've got to have it measurable. At the end of this program, we aim for the young people who are participants to walk away and build their confidence, or find their voice, or be able to regulate their nervous system. And you'll build those things into your program. Okay.
Awesome.
Another topic. Somebody else got something different, perhaps?
Yeah.
Yeah, Vicky.
I'm looking at health and well-being.
Okay. Tell us why.
Reason being is I currently work in a primary school, and we do have quite a big well-being team there, and it's something that, you know, I'm really interested in, hence doing this course, and have probably seen, you know, with my own eyes, some of the things that the kids have to deal with on a day-to-day basis at school. So I suppose, yeah, I just want to investigate that a bit further.
Fabulous. That's great. And it's such a health and well-being, it's such a big topic. Is there an area inside of that that interests you more than anything else?
I don't know, maybe I know I'm talking particularly where I work at the moment, we do run a lot of like support groups, and you were just talking to the other lady there about, you know, specific classes for the younger kids. So I'm mainly at the moment working with 10 to 12-year-olds. So yeah, those kind of groups where they're making things, or you know, we do offer a program where we have like a therapy dog coming in. So just seeing all those things that are happening already, kind of, that's what I'm, you know, hoping that I'd like to do. Well, I know I would like to do.
Right. And so what you'll be doing is you'll be talking about health and well-being. What is health and well-being? Social, emotional, physical, psychological well-being. Well-being even is around housing security, and financial security can impact. The well-being wheel would be a really good find one and build that into your program. Have a central point that you step off from. So we pick a topic, but you want to be able to have whoever you do your presentation in front of, you need to be able to pitch it to them. and say,
Okay.
so I want everyone to walk away with this. It might be a well-being kit. It might be this. It might be, you know, stickers. We might get them donated. We don't know yet. So
Okay.
think a little bit more around what are they going to walk away with that is tangible,
Yeah.
as well as measurable.
Okay. Yeah.
And is this just an idea I've got, or can I provide the evidence of it being an unmet need in the community? And then in one part of your presentation, you're presenting to 3 people, hopefully they're 3 people from your class, but you might take it out into your community. You might go and talk to your school chaplain, or depending on where you are and how you do those things, or you might have the sports teacher come in, but it needs to be 3 people representative of your wider community, and you're pitching to them. And there's instructions around that as well. It even gives them roles to say, but I have seen someone do this recording, but they did 3 people, or they had one person play all 3 people, and they didn't, obviously couldn't put them all together. It will get sent back. So if you say, I haven't got people to do it with, I want to let you know that in our class tonight, there are 31 people, all have to do the exact same assessment. Make sure that you're in this WhatsApp group and you find people to do this with. If you haven't got peers or colleagues, if you're a sector worker already, of course you'll be able to go to your work colleagues. But I like it when we do it in class, because everyone's got a bit of skin in the game when we're here. And so it's good to be sitting in the chair and you be that person for someone, and then they be that person for you. It gives you a completely different lens over that as well. So I'd encourage you to try and work in groups of 4 so that you could all be the 3 for each other.
Yeah. Okay.
Now,
Lovely.
it doesn't say it is group work, but if you do group work, I'll allow you to do a group presentation where you will only have to talk for 5 minutes about your project, and then make sure that you upload your written material.
Well, you're a hero.
So is that online on here again?
Yes, it will be.
Okay.
Yeah.
Chelsea. Oh.
So
you and me, girl, we've got first pole. We've got pole position on that.
Yeah, but of course 3 people will have to ask those curly questions. I'm not saying that everybody in the community, they might say, well, you're going to have all these young people out there, what time of night? And this is a quiet street, and you know, like there's a lot of troubles, and why are you helping that target? Not everybody is going to love your idea. So it's okay to have a little bit of resistance and welcome that resistance as well when you're doing your planning. But Caitlin, question?
I actually just wanted to share my one, because it sounds weird, but I feel really confident about this assessment. And I did think that it was dependence and addiction, but I think it's more young people at risk is what my topic's going to be. And I'm pretty much going to base it around, like, obviously everybody watches the news and you see how much crime young people are doing today. So I want to sort of do it around that. And like, obviously being a mum of 2 kids, you know, they're 2 and 1, and I want to like be able to do a program that like changes that, like changes how people, like the youths are, and pretty much try to understand what they're going through, and being able to educate them and empower them to make better choices in their lives.
Wonderful. I love that. So what age group are they, Caitlin?
Look, I'm going to say like the youngest probably 14, maybe 13 even, because a lot of the news reports that you see are 13 to 16-year-olds, which obviously isn't really good. So I think I'll go like from 13 up to probably, I don't
Okay.
know, 21, maybe a little bit older.
Right. Okay, so behind those 13, 14-year-olds is a story, and that's where your research project will cover a bit, because how are you going to find these 13, 14-year-olds that are disengaged from school, are runners, maybe not at home, maybe in out-of-home care? How are you going to connect with them? So you've got to unpack the whole project. It's one thing to know what we want to do, who we're going to do that for, why we're going to do that. Then we have to have a look at how are we going to get them to engage in this program, and what is the outcome? How am I going to measure that this did all the things that I wanted it to do?
Yeah.
Yeah, fantastic. Okay, is Caitlin, you've still got your hand up, you're right. Is there another topic that someone hasn't discussed yet? Tessa?
I actually have chose the same topic as Caitlin, but my target group was in the about 5 to 8 or 9-year-old range.
Okay, that's too young for youth work.
Too young. Yeah, because I was wondering, I wondered about that with the support and like who our target clients are.
12 to 24 years of age is what is deemed as youth work. And that's a developmental thing. But Tessa, I don't want to move you away from where you want to be. Could you bring in a mentor group of 12 to 14-year-olds, not too old, but for that younger group as well? Could you bring in another group from your target group with youth and have them work with those younger ones?
Have those 12 to 14-year-olds, you mean, work with the under 12s?
Yeah. Could you have a peer support program,
Like a
and that's
mentoring?
actually, and then work with them on how to work with those little ones?
Yeah, because in our breakout session, when I mentioned that to the group, that's what why I chose that topic, and that was the target group. Kirsten, who was really helpful, she mentioned, like that my program, or the development of my program, would be aimed at probably carers and support people and parents, because I obviously can't talk to youngsters, directly about these topics. But I didn't think about
Actually,
having mentors.
Kirsten's given you a really good strategy. You could
Thanks,
handle it like that, but your program will actually be for the parents and carers. Yeah. But that's another door to go through. Thanks, Kirsten. That's a good strategy as well. Yeah. But if you're studying to do youth work, I want you to work with your target age group. If you can, but maybe not. Like when you work with those parents and carers, you're improving the lives of young people, and they may have some older children in their family unit anyway.
Yeah, I did mention that my reason why I sort of thought of that age group is just because I see a lot, like I talk to a lot of adults, and then I'm looking and I can, just intuitively see what their youngsters are, I always wonder who's looking out for them, where's their voice, how do they get to say what I can see is happening. So that was my why for that topic, but I can definitely
No, I love it. But you just make it something where you can bring in another group. So the families and carers but they're children, they're not youth, and you're doing Cert 4 and youth work. And it is early intervention. Early intervention is 9 and 10. And 11, but youth is 12 to 24 as deemed by the Department of Social Services. Yeah. So, but I love the idea And I think educating families and carers is important. But your program, you want to reach those little ones. I think this way you can reach the little ones and work with youth. If maybe you think about, I'll go to the high schools and I'll ask kids who are 14 who would like to do a mentor program. And in doing that, they'll be role modeling for little ones as well. A lot of young people are actually the carers in their family unit if their parents are unwell, or if their parents are affected by any of those topics that we had. Some young people who are only 12, 13, 14, 15 are the carers to their own parents. So there's room in there to do that. There's a group called Little Dreamers.
Yep.
And they're nationwide. And they have a program for young people, children, young people who care for their younger siblings and for their families.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
So your research will take you there. It'll make you dive deep.
Awesome.
Okay, what is existing? And it's okay to say, I'm going to model my program similar to Little Dreamers, and then go to their website and have a look at their blurb, what they say and where they're headed with that. Thanks, Tess. That's a great idea. I'll come up to Sam and then over to Cleo and Lillian. Sam.
Hi, sorry, I'm just wanting to clarify. So what you were just saying is that, yes, we can create a program that is for, say, the parents or someone outside of that target audience, as long as the program is there to help and facilitate that target audience of youth being 12 to 24.
Absolutely. Yep. So those parents must have someone 12 to 24.
Yeah.
As a
Okay.
child. Yeah. Or
okay.
Or they're a carer too.
So it doesn't have to be specifically for that age group. You can get around it by doing it that way.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So Kirsten, did you want to expand on what you said in your breakout room, how you saw that happening for Tessa?
Sure. Yeah, so Tessa was talking about young people in the aspect of childcare, children in childcare. So my initial thoughts was just, well, you can't get those that age group in a room and work with them. It's really hard to get the messages through to that age group, obviously, on understanding and things like that. And also the fact that it's not necessarily the target audience of the youth worker. So it's just initially, I had no real program ideas, but sort of getting the parents and carers in the room and talking about the health and well-being and the welfare concerns and how we can address those, and how to properly take care of children and how we can monitor it, and that'll also lead into obviously those children when they become youth and getting them, like you said, early intervention, getting them early to prevent the risk of harm as they age as well.
Yeah, that's great. Thanks so much, Kirsten. Cleo, can we come up to you?
Okay. Hi, hello. I've chosen a topic, health and well-being. So my why reason is I'm concerned. I'm a support worker and I work with youth who are suffering from autism and some kind of rare diseases. So on the topic of health and well-being, I would like to dig more and deeper about their social and emotional well-being, because some of them, the challenges that we're facing now, some of us, we are just support workers. We don't know how to handle their emotions. So that's my topic.
Wonderful. That's great. So you'll be able to build that into your work as well. So this unit will end up being a resource for you to help you with your work. It'll be of interest, but it'll also be some professional development as well. That's great. Thanks, Cleo.
Okay, I would like to ask another question.
Sure.
the clients that I'm dealing with, I can't include them in my project because they've got conditions. So who am I going to include in my project? I would like just to ask, maybe you can help me.
You don't include the children in your project. You're
Okay.
talking about that target group. You're describing the target group. You're not delivering the program. However, you will be presenting in front of 3 members of the community. So that might be teachers, that might be other support workers. It might be people who, like what did I do last week? I did a neuroaffirming culture in the workplace. So it's, if it's 1 in 5 people are neurodivergent, then we have 20% even of our own class that identify in that target group. So you may have people who work with that target group as well. So you'll need yourself and 3 others in your presentation. And the idea is that you talk to them, you've written your project and you present it, and you want their feedback. What else might you like in this project? Because you don't submit it at that stage. You have your meeting and you adjust it or add to it, or you go, oh, that's a really good point. I'm going to build that into my project as well. And then when you've finally done that, then you move into part C and you pitch that to your supervisor, hypothetically, and say, this is what I've done. This is why I'm doing it. This is how I'm going to do it. This is when I'm going to do this. Okay, so you're going to have all of the foundation in there, but at no stage are you delivering that with children in that target group. They aren't part of your assessment. When you go into work placement, they may be.
Okay, thank you.
And yeah. Okay, wonderful. And Lillian?
You already know what I want to do. But
Okay.
I just don't know what it falls under. So when I got joined into that new breakout room, they were all talking about health and well-being stuff, like community stuff. And I'm thinking that it might go under health and well-being.
First thought is it does.
It's like community programs and
it is. It's connection to your community. If we go back to the core driver of what drives young people, who am I and where do I fit in? I think it is about health and well-being, community connection. So always bring it back. The one driver for young people is, who am I? Where do I fit in?
Yeah, because I just want kids to have a space that I had a space when I was a teenager.
That's it. So connection to community, and you've got to give it a name too. You've got to call it something. But yeah, I like the connection to community. I love where that's headed. So, Zainab.
Hi, Vicky. How are you?
I'm great.
I came in late, so I'm a bit confused, but I know, but listening to everybody talking about this, I wanted to know that because of my experience homeschooling, and the reason why I homeschool my kids is because they don't have anyone advocate for them for what they need at school, because of one of my kids ADHD and autistic and that kind of thing. So she doesn't have any support at school and understanding the teacher. So which category is that? Is it under health and well-being, or?
I think so.
Yeah.
Because health is mental health.
Okay.
And well-being, or physical health and well-being, or psychological health and well-being, or emotional health and well-being. So health is different things, well-being is different things. But if we take yours back to that driver, who am I and where do I fit in? So I'm of school age, but I'm not going to school. But how do I fit in? How do I get that segue into some of my peers even though I'm not going to school. So school is often young people's very first practice run of community.
Okay.
And so taking our rightful place in the community, they may be isolated if you don't find ways to help them connect with other young people with like-minded, similar shared views. That's what community is. So some people will take, it might be homeschooling, but they may decide we want to start a band. That is them working together. That's their sense of belonging. That's we're practicing something creative. We are all part of something. It's who I am and where I fit in.
Yeah, and also
Go
the age.
deeper.
For the age, I was thinking between 12 and 16 because I found that's the most difficult age when I was even teaching my girls. That was the trial that I was facing between between 12 and 16. That's the hardest age for me, especially the 16 years old. It was like hard.
So there's a parallel there, isn't there, Zainab? So when you're working in neurodivergent space, you've got one thing, you want them to not be isolated and excluded, but our approach is we have to join their world rather than make them join our world. And so you've got that, it's not a dilemma, but you've got parallels. So you will build your project around the parallel. And at what time, if we were going down a highway and it was, 2 or 3 lanes, at what time do they pull over to a rest spot? At what time do they merge and change lanes? And at what time do they leave that lane and go into the slower lane and let others go past or them go ahead? So we have to find a way to join them in their world rather than have neurodivergent meet us where we are. We have to build that bridge, but we also want them to have a parallel life that they can take bits and pieces out of it that they choose to be part of.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Thank you so much.
That's great. Lillian, there was one other hand up. Sorry. I missed it.
Oh, it was me, Vicky.
Oh, great. Okay. Thank you.
I was just going to share what mine was.
Great.
So
thanks.
I've chosen domestic and family violence due to lived experience.
Yes.
And I actually, wasn't leaning towards that one to start with, but it was very interesting. For some reason, I was going towards career planning, but then I changed. I don't know why. I think after hearing the rest of my group share about what their topics meant to them as well, it's sort of like, oh, actually, this is what I want to do. So
yeah, that's good. So what I like about it is there's critical thinking and you're going to put some structure around it. So knowledge is power in this space. And I think if you wanted to be able to do a program that you have an interest in, it makes this particular unit easier to do. Rather than, okay, there's 6, I don't know, I'll close my eyes and I'll pick one. But also don't procrastinate, pick one. So by tonight, I would like you to have come closer, even if you don't know which one tonight, pick the ones you're not going to do. Use that process of elimination and rule out, well, I'm definitely not going to do this one and I'm not going to do these ones, right? At least narrow that list down a little bit for yourself and then walk around that. Okay, well, so far we've got health and well-being, we've got youth at risk, we have got domestic and family violence. I haven't heard housing and homelessness yet. Career planning, yep. Yeah, so your project will be based on the facts that we need. So So Vicky's still looking for, is the WhatsApp group you're talking about, Vicky? Sorry, we've just got no sound. We'll just make sure that you're part of that. Right, let me just, yeah. So Bridie, if you'd be kind enough to just guide, that would be amazing.
Sorry, Vicky, I just lost the screen then, so I had to rejoin.
Oh, you're right. So where we're up to here is we're still recording, and I just wanted to just walk you through this again. So you might go, well, I'm definitely not going to do domestic and family violence or dependence and addiction, young people at risk. But what you have heard is that health and well-being, like all of these topics, are very broad. I want you to narrow it in and pick the age. Even are you going to hold your program indoors or outdoors? How many people can attend your group program that you're going to be offering? Will you do it as a one-off half day, or will you run it for terms, or will you run it for 12 months? It'll be entirely up to you. And you have to think about this. So your step one in this is choose a focus community group that you are going to be able to provide the evidence for. Then the next part of this is part B. You'll be observed in your role play, the first part of it, and you'll need to perform to industry standards and expectations, which means that you're going to be dressed for your presentation and you're going to be talking and presenting to people in the community group. And your background will duplicate that. So here, this group are meeting in an outdoor area, in a garden, outside. So they are the community members, and you will be the worker that does the presentation. So that's one example of it. But you need to make sure that you de-identify your background, where it won't be in someone's home with their family photos in the background. You have to still do a sector standard. So here where it says to industry standards, expectations, you're not delivering to the community, but you have to duplicate it, because when you go to work placement, you absolutely will be doing this as part of your assessment, and you're going to need to come up with a program or talk about the program that you're doing in your work placement, and you're going to have to pitch it to your host employer and part of their staff. Okay, and it might be that you're all sitting down having a cup of coffee and saying, look, I'm doing my studies and an assessment. I wanted to run this idea past everyone and get your thoughts and feedback. That might be how you approach it. Don't think of it as I've got to stand up and do public speaking. That some people will feel comfortable with that, but make sure that you are comfortable with it to industry standards. So no, not in your pajamas, no, not on your bed. And you all know I'm going to say, and I prefer that you wear pants, because not all role plays have that. So yeah, just make sure that you present it professionally. So you'll have your the bones of your development plan, and you'll identify if it addresses certain priorities that are important for you. You are to listen to the three people who are the stakeholders and plan strategies to ensure that you meet their priorities as well. So you'll have your own, but how will you know it's filling a gap or an unmet need if you don't get feedback from others? So I know that the first access side is down, and it is external to HADA, and it's been down for a few days. So I do apologise, but you don't need to go into that site just to get started with this particular one, and I'll help you wherever I can. So you will need to have access to your plan, which is in your porthole, and then you'll pick your topic, and then access to 3 participants to play the roles of community members. Okay, and you just did a little bit of that in your breakout room. That's part B. Part C is you finish talking to your stakeholders, your community members, hypothetically, and you've fine-tuned your project, and now you're going to advocate for that group that you want to represent and do your project around, and you're going to pitch this to your supervisor, and you're going to put your proposal to them so that you can get funding, and that will be your action plan. And your supervisor is going to want to hear, what is it that you have as an idea in mind? The other part of your project is you'll need to cost it and do a budget around it as well. So your supervisor will love your idea and say, I'm going to get behind this. That's great. But they've only got a budget of 5,000. That can go a long way. But there's things like, I'm going to hold it in the skate bowl. That might be the health and wellbeing one that you do. And if I hold it in the skate bowl, I need council's permission. What's my insurance like? What's the workplace health and safety? Who's my first aid officer? If I'm going to hold it, you have to consider every component of putting something together. So you might have a partner, so your stakeholders pick someone that wants to donate the location for you and say, we'll have you come in and be a guest. We have that target group. So you will go in and collaborate in the community. So we call that community capacity building, where instead of doing it on our own for our own organisation, we partner with others. That's why we ask you to put this in front of partner organisations, different stakeholders. So some people might get Bunnings, or they might get one of the sporting shops to do that, or they might get a local footy team where they go, oh, we're really avid fishing people and we'll do all of that for you as well. And the sporting shop might say, well, we'll donate fishing rods and reels and a kit and some bait. We'll get behind all of that for you. But it's got to have a value, and you've got to go and find out, how much does this cost? And you've got to put it into your budget as donations in kind to the value of. You might have guest speakers come along and talk. How much were the gifts for your guest speakers? How much was morning tea or afternoon tea? If you're going to run a program for kids, they will want food. They may need permission slips. You're going to create a feedback form. So if they're little, like Tessa's group that she wants to have those younger ones, Tessa's feedback form might be just smiley faces. What did you think about today? And they will colour in which one that they relate to. And so we pitch it to that target group, that age group that we're working with as well. Any questions about where you're headed with this now? Have you got an idea? You can see why the project task 2 is big, and task 3 is your presentation, your role play. So the bulk of this unit is about coming up with the idea. The first part of it is, what is community? What does that mean to us? Okay, so when we come back, we'll have a break. We'll have a 15-minute break. And when we come back, we're going to go into our breakout room and we're going to talk about what are the key elements for you. What does community mean? And I'm going to get you to break it down into who, what, how, when, where, and why. That will be your foundation. And you'll need to be answering those questions in your research project. Melinda, I'll come to you first, and then Lila, I'll come up to you.
With the domestic and family violence one, can I go for kids like 7 and up, but with the 7-year-old use like with their families?
Yes.
With pictures and all that kind of
100%.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. So when Trent was in your group, he went for the young children, but he worked with the mothers and showed them how to bait a hook and read the tide times and things like that to be able to show them how to go fishing. And that was his well-being as well. So he didn't know whether to make it about youth at risk or health and well-being. And we bounced that around a lot because we started to unpack. The young people will want to ask questions. So are we the pity project where you see us as youth at risk and so you want to, you know, overcompensate? And I said, if you make it around health and well-being, you can make it then about the fishing rather than about you happen to be a victim survivor of domestic family violence, rather than stigmatize or put a label on them as well. So then it was like, then they could go and say, no, we're just doing this for kids who don't have their dad at home all the time. And it was even some kids from FIFO families where their fathers work away 28 days and only home for a week, to fill those gaps and to keep those young boys on track to have positive male role models. So it isn't always just youth at risk, but there will be some young people at risk inside of that target group as well. So, Laura.
Oh yeah, Vicky, sorry, I was going to do dependence and addiction, but then I was headed towards more career planning. So it sort of fits me more in what I sort of do. But I'm thinking of targeting, you can't target like say, maybe from 16 onwards. Maybe that could be my sort of...
Yeah, I think you could do your early ones. You could do 16 onwards, though they run programs in schools already. What about those young kids who are just coming into high school who kind of don't know why they're there? But if we plant this and do the early, and because they've got to start selecting subjects, and it's like, I have no clue. Aren't you guys supposed to tell me what I'm good at? What if you went there a little bit around that and maybe not grade 8? Yeah, like what are you good at? Indoors, outdoors. Find out how they best learn their information. Yeah, think about it like that and give them a profile instead of a resume, instead of like, here are the jobs that I've done. Here are my soft skills and here are my strengths. So come at it another way. Yeah, build on that and go, well, look, you know, this is what I noticed about you. So you bring industry to them. And it's like, oh, what I'm good at these things. What jobs do they say need these things?
Okay, so like it's more like here's like a little survey. What interests you? What are your interests? What sort of career paths do you sort of look at in the future? What, you know, that could be
to make their studies make sense for them. Why am I doing this? Why am I here? I don't get this kind of thing. But if you can bring that, if you can bring the goal closer to them, like, well, this could be really helpful for you. And here's 10 careers that all of those things that you already have right now, they really value that. So you can change your mind and that along the way, but it kind of makes sense of things. It's like, oh, I didn't know that. So it helps them find it rather than, oh, well, when I finish school or I'll get out of school early. It kind of brings the thing they want: money, career, car, those kind of things. I work with males predominantly, but it kind of brings that into their world. So when they get stuck, when they wonder why they're there, who am I and where do I fit in? I'm here because. So then they have their own goals rather than that peer acceptance or peer pressure.
Yeah, because I remember like my daughter, when they started grade 7, this is like maybe 7 years ago, the school actually told them to write a letter what they thought the career path was going to be.
Love that.
It was so interesting. And then like when year 12 finished, like 2 years ago she finished, they sort of said, open it up and see, did you sort of choose that career path that led to what you wanted to do, which was really interesting. And when you read it, like half the things she actually did pursue.
Yeah.
I think that is. Yeah, it was,
wow.
It was interesting.
Just planting that seed.
Good, beautiful. No.
What's up? Sorry.
Okay. All right. So That's great. We had another hand up. Lillian, yes.
Sorry. So with mine, what sort of health and well-being would it be under? Would it be under the mental, or would it be under like the emotional?
Well,
Because there's different reasons why kids would go to my program. Like they don't want to go home, or they want a safe space, or
I like that it could be more than one thing rather than lock it in.
So I just put in like my agenda or whatever of it, like multiple things.
Yeah, absolutely. I'd be looking at social inclusion, well-being. It talk about that in your project. It actually fits in under several areas as well. Yeah. It's your project. Build on it in there. Look, let's take a break. It's almost 22. Let's come back. We'll take 10 minutes now. Let's come back at 10 to 8, and then we're going to start working in what is community. And I want you to get used to working to the framework. You need this in your written report as well. Who, what, how, when, where, and why. So when I read your project, I have to read it and have every one of those questions answered. That's how I'm going to assess you. That's fine, Caitlin. We're recording. We absolutely will have it ready for you. Okay, let's take 10 and come back. Okay, so everyone's jumped into a breakout room and they're going to connect as a community, start to work with each other hypothetically as stakeholders and get feedback on those ideas, and start to form the foundation of their project, which is task 2. And it's going to be the who, what, how, when, where, and why. And if you haven't yet chosen a topic, that's okay. For the point of this exercise in the breakout room, or when you do your reflection, just make sure that you know how to do the project, and then as it gets closer for you to be able to lock that in. When we are ready to do the role plays, I will offer those in class as well for those that say that they're ready. So to be ready, you need to have completed task 1, your quiz. You'll need to have got the task 2, your project. You'll have met with your peers. It may be with your WhatsApp group as well. And you'll start to do some building of that. And then in task 3, you will be doing your role play, and that will be doing a pitch to your stakeholders and also doing a presentation just for 5 minutes on getting your supervisor to get behind it. They want to know how it went with the stakeholders, what changes you might do before you do your written submission. So your role play does not mean that your project is completed in writing. That's at the very end when you're going to upload all of that. The role play is about having a meeting with stakeholders and then getting their ideas and adding those ideas in the final written work, which you will present up. But then you'll go to your supervisor in the second role play and you'll say, well, look, we had the meeting and it was great. Some people are really busy. They can't be involved, but they'd like to still hear how it's going. And maybe later when their workload eases, they can be involved. And then a couple of others said, look, we work with young people who have these needs. I really think if you added that into the project, it might be someone in your stakeholder group is a member of council who's going to give you a location to do that. Or you might do the location in a public space and you need council to give you permission, make sure the insurance is covered, all of those other things that you need around it. You're going to need to do a budget, and that's break down everything that you are going to have to think of in your budget. So $5,000 isn't a lot, but you may end up with 10,000 because you could have up to 5,000 donated by sponsors. So think outside the square a little bit here. Don't limit yourself with what your supervisor is going to say. You could say, this is going to cost us 7,500, but I've had 2,500 donated already. So all up, it's a $7,500 project and $5,000 from First Access. And your supervisor, of course, will want to see the budget, but that's behind the scenes. That's what you will do with your written assessment. But for me, I want to see you do the conversation with your stakeholders and then put your idea forward to your supervisor. And they'll ask you a couple of questions around that. So let me just pause here while I put some material up for us, and we'll go through that together. I'm just going to walk us through our assessments for this particular unit. I said in the beginning that there are 3 assessment tasks for us to do. So this one here is task 1. Sorry, let me just bring that down. Make that a little bit bigger for us to be able to see. It's great. So task 1 is the overview, and it asks you to just have your computer and internet, and you need to answer all the questions correctly. So there are 14 questions in task 1. The first one is multiple choice. So with multiple choice, it's going to ask you to select an option that says, so in an ABCD approach, which is around assets, community members and stakeholders, it may include natural resources, physical infrastructure, cultural and social networks, and individual talents and skills. One of these here is going to be the correct answer. So these ones get marked automatically. So with this one, once community assets have been identified that you're going to need, this is all part of our who, what, how, when, where, and why. The next step is to mobilise the community members to take action and build on these. This may involve identifying community leaders and forming partnerships with local organisations and businesses. So one of these will be the answer to that. So often the answer is written into the explanation. So that's a little tip to help you with the multiple choice ones. So one of those will be the correct one, and that's your multiple choice. We'll just move that down and take us back to here. So you'll see here there's task 1, there's task 2, and task 2 has 2 parts. That's 3 different parts of your assessment. So you've got write your project and the skill side, which is present your project idea. Just bring you back to this one. Let me just see if I can get that opened up. It's definitely not liking that. see if I can bring that down. Okay, so the first one is match the aspects. Task 2, what are the aspects of gaps or needs, unmet needs in community development? And it'll say, please choose 3 only. So you have 5, 3 of those will be correct. A rights-based approach, so that's making sure that you're looking after the human rights of the people that you're representing, and your topic may be around greater access, equity, or a very marginalised complex need group as well. This one here, it's talking about what you've got to think about in your own words. Describe how Australia's diverse communities have been impacted with all of the changes. Think about the economy. What are things that are positive around diverse communities, and what are some things that have not gone well? Same with employment, same with social, same with cultural, same with political. Now, with this question, this is what your project needs to encompass. What's the economic benefit? It might be career planning that you're looking at, employment, some social needs, cultural and political, where the funding might go. I shared with you about how we would work with, in Queensland, there's a lot of programs that prevention of young people, very young people. So in Western Australia, a 9-year-old can be arrested, charged and detained in detention. In Queensland, it's a 10-year-old. But while the government of the day may have discussed the policy and the laws, there will be no court anywhere in Australia that will charge a child with an adult sentencing. It won't happen because of this political, social, cultural, and economic costs around that. Detention will be when that young person is working in specific programs. So we have some of our learners and one of our trainers does work in detention as well. So they're working with very high and complex need young people who are going to need that support from youth workers when they're in that space, but they've been impacted financially, domestic family violence, underemployment in the home, or on a fixed income with social security benefits or unemployment benefits or youth allowance, the cultural barriers that may be there, and then what that government of the day decides that they're going to have or not have. Think about those aspects when you're doing your program. Think about, is it going to be sustainable? Is this something that we could do every year? So the week before I spoke about how I picked up the Battle of the Bands after someone had been doing it for many years, and they wanted it to be sustainable. So they handed it over to a youth service provider, ours, and she got behind it because it was something that she put together. She was also the person that coordinated the hosts families for kids who came from overseas and stayed with other families, and that was reciprocated. So she'd been a member of the community, but she had these smaller kind of roles. But the Battle of the Bands was because her own children were really interested in it, very musical, and she listened to other projects and said, oh, well, we might run it. And it did. It ran for a very long time, and it got bigger. We ran it for a while. We wanted it to be something that we could do and bring bands in for young people. And then we handed the project over to the council so that they had the means and they could use that on an annual basis. And their youth development officer oversaw that. So is it where it creates work for people? Does it have pathways? is it going to be environmentally sustainable? Is it something that we can do and continue to do? So think about all the other aspects that your project might offer young people to be involved in so that they can enjoy being part of their wider community. Number 11 asks you, what is community consultation? So that's going to be getting the collective groupthink of other people in the community to make sure that you're getting feedback and improvements, and that you've got the voice of the wider community. Says here in B, lists 3 methods of documentation and provision of information. Look, that could be social media, that could be a notice board, that could be emails, that could be brochures, that could be posters, and it could be flyers. Okay, so a lot of these in task 1 are relatively easy, but we do have to think about it. Foundation. Explain what the principles and practices of community development work that can be employed to address structural disadvantage and inequality within a community. So it could be that some people don't have, we spoke about the fishing program, that they may not have those role models in their family to be able to do that. So that could be inequity or disadvantage. It could be people with differing abilities running an all abilities event. The project could be something, now we see people who are wheelchair users where there's a platform and it's a runway down to the beach, so they can enjoy being part of that beach environment. Before, they would sit back and watch that further away, but a project got together and the funds together and it was all investigated, and that takes bringing like-minded people together to discuss it and think about it, make sure all the workplace health and safety, and then the funding and the value. But they can't do that if they don't know how many other people might use that. So they go back to the NDIS providers or doing a survey in the community. If you could get to the beach and you're a wheelchair user or you need mobility aid, would something like that interest you? And then when you hold a community meeting, they are the representatives, the voice of those clients as well. And so then you've got your project and you've tested your idea. You've got a better picture in front of you on the who, the what, the how, the when, the where, and the why to bring your project all together. And then the funding that sits around that. Just another one here. The primary role of policies and procedures. One of these will be the correct answer. It'll either be the legal guidelines for community development activities. So this is for the primary role of the organisation's policies and procedures. So it won't be to promote fundraising. It won't be to establish framework for making and managing referrals to external services. It may not be the history or the background of community development, which will only leave you one answer for this particular one. So these are in your learner's guide. These will give you some, just some thinking, stepping off points to be able to head into your project and consider all the aspects around that. It'll have you think about what's social justice, human rights, what's family, what does that look like? It's different for everyone. What's community? What's the wider community, society? And then what's inside all of that for our individuals as we're working in that space? Let me bring up our task 2. I've spoken about that, but I'll give you a framework around your project and what it's going to look like. four areas. Choose one community group. We're working on that. Research it. Identify underpinning structural and social issues that it faces, the goals, the priorities that particular target group want to achieve. You're going to do some research. You may contact different places over the phone, go and visit them in your local area face-to-face, or you may do some virtual research around that. You'll need to explain who you are if you're going to do your face-to-face. Look, I just want to come in and talk to you about this project that you do, and how did you get that going? Go in with some of your questions. And I'm thinking about running this program, and I wondered if that would interest your young people that attend, and it might be a school that you go to. If you can't do that face-to-face, do this hypothetically. Who would you go to, and what would you ask? Create a development plan based on the information that you gather, and here is your template. So it's going to ask you to research, analyse and document the priorities. List a minimum of 5 goals that you want this community group to achieve. Give your project a title and address one of the priorities for the group that you've chosen. Include your location, some of the activities, so that you can reach the goals. Describe how the program will help build the skills of the people who attend your program, your participants. Outline your mission, your vision and your goals you want to achieve for the program, and how it aligns with what the community needs and what their priorities are, and back that up with your facts. And then list the social, economical and environmental benefits of your program. And then the second part is document your structures and resources that you need. So your income source of funding, how much each item is going to cost, break that down and list it and do a total. If you've got any other potential income streams like sponsors and donors, a location, and you might even go and find some additional funding that you could apply to this. What is your projected budget, what you think it's going to cost? And you'll need to know if you're going to blow your budget out or not. And define and manage how you're going to do your consult with your community members. I'm going to do it face-to-face. That's what this question means. I'm going to send out a survey. I'm going to open up a Facebook page and get expressions of interest. I'll go and speak to some different groups. I'll gather the data and I'll present to Rotary or another group, or I'll go to the school and say, would it interest you to know? And you will give them data about what is relevant in your local area. And you're going to reference it. You are going to have to put your evidence on your data of where you got that information, and it has to be credible, and you need to cite it. So you'll have a website, not just to go in and find it, but you'll need to have, say, the Australian Bureau of Statistics, and you'll go to your local government area and you will ask them data and what is it that we are going to be building into our program. And the why. No point in doing something if there's already 4 of those programs that are running locally. So really think about yours so that you're meeting an unmet need and completing something that's worthwhile, and hopefully something that lasts. But even if it's one day, information awareness and sharing, that's most important. Okay, so we're back and I'm just going to open the floor up. Bridie.
So I think I'm going to do homelessness.
Okay, great.
But I used to work in the field, and for youth, a lot of the homelessness is because of domestic violence and stuff like that. So would it be better to do domestic violence or homelessness?
What's your project going to be?
I'm not exactly sure yet.
Not yet. Yeah, that's okay. So I guess the homelessness, what's the root cause around homelessness? It's lots of things, isn't it? It's the economy, it can be domestic family violence. If you go homelessness, you're going to run a program to prevent it. If you're going to do it around domestic family violence, it's going to be around their mental health. It's going to be, what are some of the barriers for people around that? It might be, here is a brochure, and in this brochure, it has youth legal advice hotline. It has the free call number. And what I'm going to do is for young people who have been victim survivors or are currently in domestic family violence, I'm going to give them a go-to card on all of the essential services that will help them get their youth allowance or be able to get considered or do a tenancy program, or what youth accommodation is around for them that's affordable as well. So it could be that you design a go-to card as well. So you might talk to young people who are thinking about leaving home because of that. So that comes in under the category of UTLA. Sorry, I'm just going to. Okay, found it. So I'm recording, that's why I'm just shutting down some of that back noise. So UTLA is an acronym and it stands for Unreasonable to Live at Home. And that covers both of those things that you're talking about. So Centrelink have, I believe it's a Form 12, or it might be Form 14, but your research will help you find that. How does a young person know that they can get away from this unsafe environment and be able to find accommodation that suits them? To do that, first of all, they may need a youth refuge. And what do they need to be eligible to apply? First, they need a bed. But let's say in role play land, you've got a magic wand and there is plenty of beds. What else do they need? What if they've left and they haven't got their ID or their birth certificate? Think of the practical things, the checklist, the go bag, the plan, the information checklist for them to be able to access, to prevent them sleeping rough, but also to help them navigate that space and get the support because they have been surrounded by domestic family violence. So that's if they leave and you can make it about homeless. If they stay, then it's a different kind of a program, but they're not going to live at home forever. How are they impacted by domestic family violence, and how may that impact their opportunity to access services where another young person beside them did not experience that? Does that favour that other young person, and does it disadvantage this one? And what can you do to close the gap for them? Okay.
Yep, thank you.
Did that help a little?
Yeah, that was good.
So if you said, I'm going to pick both, pick both.
Yep.
Okay. But just for this project, I chose both areas because I think they sit well beside each other. Okay.
Yep. Cool.
All right.
Thank you.
Fabulous. Okay. So could I perhaps hear back from some of the groups on how you went with your foundation, our who, what, how, when, where, and why? Who's starting to crystallize a little more for them?
I think I voiced mine pretty much. Who, what, when, where, why? Did I already?
You did.
Yes. Cool. I might log off, guys. I got my daughter home now.
Do that. Okay, that's great. Thanks, Chelsea. So are there any gaps that people are like, oh, I don't know, I can't quite see my way through the fog at the moment? You feel okay with it? Tessa?
Hi, yeah. After you know, the last session with my choice and then the target group, I had to sort of change a little bit. So I kind of, obviously not moving away from the under 12 groups. I thought about keeping with the same topic, but possibly getting, say, 18 to 24-year-olds to come down to mentor a younger group, like to 12 to 15.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it was sort of the same as I had before, but I just had to change that target group, and then obviously there'd be different reasonings because they can speak for themselves, and so I'd have to do a little bit more research and change things up a little bit. But
some can speak for themselves.
Yeah.
Some cannot, but I know what you mean. You will be pitching differently to that target group, won't you?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
But we also have to remember it's a bit like when did their trauma happen? And if it happened when they were 14, then their capacity to problem solve is as a 14-year-old. The least developed part of their personality as they've been growing up, they will revert back to that place. So I could work with the 34-year-old who I've got the 16-year-old in front of me trying to problem solve, but they're so connected to the trauma that the injury is the thing that comes forward. Even if the circumstances they're under right now are not the same, the body keep scores and their response is the same. So I could have a fairly combative 16, 17-year-old. The majority of males I work with are 17 to 19. And if we don't get that work done there, and they may have been homeless, sleeping rough from 13. If we don't get that work done there, then by the time they're 24, they may be repeat offender in the adult correctional as well. Sam, question?
Yeah, you just mentioned you work with that age group, sorry, 14 to 17, I think it was. Because the age group that I was considering for this project is 12 to 16, just kind of having in mind that there's a lot of brain development around that age and rewiring, and with that mindset of early intervention to plant that seed, for future, just a future being of a person going into society. So, but listening to what you said, I'm wondering if maybe that's too young. Like, it would the kind of thing that I'm considering around mental health, well-being, nurturing yourself, having your own voice, that sense of identity and connection to yourself and nature is kind of what I'm looking at for males of that age group. Is that potentially then maybe too young, not the right age with everything that's going on?
Yeah, it depends. I think it might be a struggle to have such a broad age group, because I agree with you. What you want at 12 is very different to 16. Like if you, let's put a gender around it. Would you put a group of 12-year-old girls with a group of 16-year-old girls? And you've got different development, different ages, different stages. You could do 12, but you would probably do 12 to 14. And then you might do 15 and 16-year-olds. You might do them separately.
Yeah, so just group them. So I wouldn't necessarily need to do 2 different programs.
2 different time slots and slightly different activities, but I think your idea, your mental health and well-being, I think stay with that, and then just break your groups down, and then maybe some of the activities, put that into it and consider, like this group, less talk, more do. But with the older ones, it might be I might get them to work out who's my circle of influence, who are your 5 people that
that's what I was talking.
Yeah,
that's what I was talking about, was like the web, getting them to connect, make connections. So then I would need to do, like, does that mean that I need to do 2 role plays or 2 sets of planning? Or
no, just talk about it. This is what I'm going to do. Here is my target group, but the activities in the program are going to be broken down into Group A and Group B. Group A will do a bit of that, and Group B will do a bit of this, but your budget will be the same. Your collaboration, who you talk to with your stakeholders, your workplace health and safety, your location, all those things remain the same. That's your foundation. And then you're talking about scaffolding, the thing that sits around it. So you might go, look, I can get the kids in the morning, the younger ones, and do the older ones in the afternoon, or the other way around. You know, I might have I might have a group of 5 volunteers for my junior group and 5 volunteers, different ones for the older group, depending on what that is. I like to think that when I'm running a program that I can pivot in the program and let them know this is what we're going to do, but I change the program once we get started to go a little bit of direction of where the participants want it to be. So I pick out a program, part of my program, and go, this bit is for you guys. We're all going to work together on a project. What would you like that to be? If I gave you a budget of $500, what would you like that activity to be involved? And then they work collaboratively together, and you put some guidelines around it for them. So you do a project inside a project, which gives young people a voice. There's a lot of ownership over that because it's their project. And then your role just becomes, so sometimes it can be, at the end of this, we're going to have a piece of art. And that art will be our smaller sheets, but then we'll have a large one and we'll donate that over. Sorry. And here's your individual one. That we're going to be, that's yours to take home.
Yep.
So,
okay, thank you. That's really really helpful and interesting concept there. Kind of giving them the parameters to create something of their own, which ties back into with them having a voice and being able to.
If your underpinning is to build their voice, give them a sense of agency, invest in it, then give them the tools and the resources and the decision making. Always be mindful, whatever project we do with young people, is there's an imbalance of power automatically because we are the ones who are organizing it. But if you say, this is actually coming back to you guys, I want you guys to decide, we're going to be doing this project, but what theme do you want to run with? And then set that up inside it. What's important to you now? And could we have all of that in there? And you might bring in local artists, you might bring in Indigenous artists who are all part of that. You might take that and then screen print it, and they all get a T-shirt, which is like, oh, we were the group of, 2025 that went through, and stuff like that, like make it sustainable, lasting, where when they walk away from what you do, they've got the thing that reminds them. So with the younger groups, we often do boundary bracelets. So we'll say, we'll do beads and we'll just say, pick 5 people you would go to that you trust, that you could share a story with. If you needed to go and tell somebody something, that would be the person you would take with you. Just to help them
thanks for that.
You're welcome. Thanks. Melinda.
Just want to run past a few things to make sure I'm on the right track.
Sure.
So with the domestic and family violence one, I've chosen 2 groups if that's possible. I've got 7 years to 12 years as one group, which will involve the activities we like cooking, painting, drawing, movie days, parks, stuff like that, with a few volunteers if that can happen. And the other one would be from 13 years to 16 years, which could do like cooking, football, netball, fishing, bushwalks, bike riding, skate parks. Is that in the right direction?
Yeah, it sounds to me like you're having activities. Do these kids go to school?
Yes, I was thinking since that'd be like school, and most older kids do sports. I was thinking maybe on like it could be like a Sunday activity kind of thing.
Yeah.
And could we look into renting like a town hall like for a few hours a day on a Sunday?
Absolutely. Council will tell you they have town halls.
Yeah.
So, so it sounds to me like you've got the bones of a holiday program.
Yeah.
Because young people who are 16 often have a part-time job, but if you're
Yeah.
catering to the ones that don't, and you want to
Yeah.
keep them engaged in a positive activity so that their imaginations don't come up with other great activities that they think is a better idea, if it's structured and it's interesting to them and you can get your volunteers in there and keep them engaged and busy, then they're finding their community inside their holiday program. It's like, oh, I want to go to the holiday program.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that sounds great, because that's an unmet need for the younger group who like a lot of the sports all stopped, school might stop, and where can they go during those school holidays where they have a sense of community and program structured, that they go, oh, I love that holiday program. So I grew up on a coastal place and we used to have sandcastle building competitions during school holidays and things like that, but they brought people from, you know, hundreds of miles away, or kilometers away, and it became very professional, so they had to categorize it into groups. So often a church group will offer that, but not everybody thinks that that church group is the one that they want to have access to. So we think about diverse, equity, and inclusion.
Yeah.
If you think of DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion, and frame it around that, then you're meeting the essence of youth work in your project.
Yeah. Thank you for that.
Great. Love your idea.
Thank you.
Anybody else like to share? Okay, we're good. We feel like the cloud is lifting and we've got some ideas.
I just have a question.
Yeah, sure.
So I'm confused a bit about the target group age for the topic that I chose, being under 12s. And what is the difference to the domestic and family violence and that age group that Melinda was just talking about?
Well, it depends on what your project's going to be. Let's say you've got them. What are you going to do with them? What are you doing with them? Are they in a room? Are they outside? What are you? That's why we went into that night, Tony. Thank you.
Yeah, that's right. I'm sorry. I'm just bringing it back to the
I get it. I get where you are, and what I want you to do is lay your foundation. Each of that foundation is a brick, and thanks, Vicky. That's great. So each of your foundation is a brick. If you don't know the who or the what or the why, go to the how, go to the when, go to the who, you know, like just keep moving along that, and it'll start to form for you. But you need all of those things laid out. You go, right, I know my target group, my who is 12.
Yeah, I thought I did have it all laid out.
I know, but they all jumble around. That's why I have to give you a structure to work to. Otherwise, you'll go down the rabbit hole, Tessa, and we'll have to send a team in to get you.
Yeah.
There's so many different ways
me
it
out
could
now.
go.
Yeah.
Yeah. But if, you know, like just start to put some ideas around, but I want you to use those building blocks. Who, what, how, when, where, and why.
Yeah. I just had a really specific thing earlier, and then when we went to the age and it sort of threw me off, and I'm just
So step away, leave the one alone that's blocking you from going forward. You can bring it back in, work on the other areas. You're focusing on the one that's not giving you answers. Use your critical thinking and put it out with the others. So Analytical thinking means that we put all of the foundation in front of us and we work on the things that we have some control over or need to do. It's the same when we work with our clients. If they've got a problem, we don't solve it for them. We put all of the options in front of them. Well, who could you bring in to help you with this? What would it look like if it was working well for you? How do you think you might go about heading down this path? When do you think you would like this by? We use this exact framework to help our clients help themselves.
Yeah, yep. I totally understand. I think I might have just made it a little bit harder for myself because I was quite specific about the age group and what it was I wanted to target for them.
Yeah.
But it would definitely need to go to an adult.
And what if,
age group to,
yeah, what if you're, well, not definitely, you're still in that planning stage. What if your stakeholders say, well, we actually think 17-year-olds need this. And all your 3 stakeholders say, look, you know, there's a big gap locally for 17-year-olds. It can't be what we think. It has to be what the community thinks as well. The strength will lie in your collaboration.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we have an idea, but otherwise it'll just be, we've done it and wonder why nobody turns up because we're the only one who really needs or wants this to happen. But if we're meeting the need or filling a gap, then that will reach all the people you want it to reach. Sometimes it's like, for this assessment, I'm going to pick this group and get a feel for it. I won't be as fixed in that, but once I've got this one sorted, maybe a spin-off from this could be that younger group.
Yeah. Yeah.
And there's annually there's a project called Under 8 Stay and you know, picnic in the park and things like that. That's little kids learning. They'll bring in First Nation people and they give them a rock and they show them how to crush up the different rocks to get their colors and they paint their rocks, you know, so that's Under 8s in the park. Maybe that's what it is, Tessa, that you're working with. Like, don't close it down, but just come out a little bit further rather than narrow in too much.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Great. Any other questions I can help anyone with? Virginia, you've been actively listening tonight.
Very, isn't it? I left everyone else talking today.
Yeah, how are you though?
Yeah, good. I think yeah, I think I'm gonna do young people at risk.
Right.
I'm actually doing placement and I really enjoy what I do. Yeah, I've been doing a little bit of activity and yeah, I think they're doing a great program there. So yeah, I'm gonna a little bit collaborating about that.
Fabulous. That's terrific. Oh, brilliant. I'm glad you can bring it all together for yourself and what a great target group to run your idea past as well.
Yeah, it's good. One thing I wanted to ask you, we done like when the group that we have to do the role play, we don't have to do the same task, isn't it? Project. We can all do the same project.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Absolutely. Yeah, you just swap places. Yeah. So yeah, you're doing your assessment your way. Yeah, but the structure of it, no, that all stays the same. So you sit in that space for others and they sit in that space for you. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Hugh, how are you going this week?
Yeah, not bad. Yeah, I've just been trying to think of what to do. I have backgrounds in both music and art, and I've run workshops with young people before with art. So I could do that, but I would like to maybe work somehow with drumming as opposed to art, just because it's just more what I'm interested in at the moment. So I've just been trying to come up with how to make that accessible and what form it would take. Yeah, I'm a little bit vague at the minute, but I guess
Is there a drumming group in your community?
not that I know of. I've just been tonight while we've been talking, like trying to look and find spaces that use music and drumming for that, but haven't really been able to come with too much. I'm sure there is some, but not too much. I think one of the main instigators was when I was living in London, I came across this community center where every Sunday they have this drumming. It's kind of like a drumming circle, I suppose, but it's just like outside their community center, they just have a whole bunch of drums and anybody can walk in, and it's people who access the community center as a kind of cornerstone for their survival, I suppose, but then anyone in the community comes in. And just witnessing what it did was pretty incredible. So just trying to think of a way that could take some form, but not just like a drumming circle, more maybe like a room that people can come in, and if they don't have access to that sort of stuff, because it is quite expensive and it is quite difficult to have in your home. But then what form that would take, if it's like they just come in and hit stuff, or if you're like trying to build together like an orchestra, or whether it's drum lessons, or whether it's so just I don't know, just trying to piece it together.
Yeah, you've got the shape of it. For the purpose of it, you can pitch a project and do it in stages where you go over a period of 2 years. We will bring in stage 1, stage 2, stage 3. Don't limit yourself with only one. Just go, we would like to expand it over a period of time. Because if you want your project to be sustainable and to be something that they could do regularly, then it will grow organically. It will grow. So you just say, I would like to give it the stages, but initially in the launch phase, I would like to start it like this. So maybe that you borrow the gear, but there could also be a gambling fund that will give you $50,000 to get your first set of drums, and somewhere in your community could give you a location to store them.
Yeah. I mean, I was thinking of whether it's funding or donations, like reaching out to the music. I don't know, whatever, just getting doing a call out for donations.
But I mean, you might take it primal and only do it in the bush, like it could be environmental. Where do you want it to be? What, like really drill down once you've got a bit of an idea. Put your foundation blocks down and then start to play with what a typical session might be. Is it 1 hour? Is it free for everybody to do that? If I'm going to do that, that'll be how you start to create the project, based on move over to another area and then move over to another one, and then that you'll get your aha moment and it'll go, oh look, I think. And there's so many possibilities with what you've got that you're going to have to select one to start with just to get that going. But if you've got the idea and you'd like it, this is the unit to put a framework together. And don't be frightened of AI. Chuck your ideas into a chat GPT or something and just say, here is the idea that I have to do something like that. Would I do this? Thanks, Paul. Would I do this over once a week? Make it free, throw all your ideas at it and see what it spits out for you.
I think, I mean, again, there's just so many considerate like possibilities, I suppose. I mean, I think, something I really believe in is like, I suppose, a particular age group of young boys and men, and setting good examples and giving them something to do other than, things that might end up hurting them.
I can
so that could be
see
an
that,
access point. But then also, I'm sure there's need for everybody. So don't want it to be too limiting, but then obviously, I don't know.
But this, for the purpose of this, it is about picking your target group, and we can only work with what we've got in front of us, and it grows. So you might open it up to other groups later, but your foundation one, your pilot project, make it about that one and just go, let's see where it goes beyond that and get to feel. So things like a warriors weekend for young men, and then having that big brother kind of model around it, where it might be big brothers turn up, or uncles, or whatever. Like there's a big gap in male role modeling for young men. Out in the bush, have a barbecue, do some drumming, safe storytelling kind of circle, things like that. And it's like, it could go wherever you want it to go. But think about your target group, who you would like to be reaching.
Yeah. Okay.
You,
Yeah.
sounds like you've got your what.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I think so. But yeah,
Okay.
I'll give it some thought.
Good. All right, walk around it. Kirsten, how are you going?
Yeah, good. I think I'm all good with the oh, I don't know. I come up tonight with this project, so obviously domestic and family violence, but when we were doing the who, what, when, where, all of that, sort of had a discussion about 12 to 17 and then 18 to 25-year-olds, but then I've sort of just revamped that a bit, thinking 12 to 17 is a bit broad, so maybe 12 to 14 and then 14 to 18.
Yeah, actually,
As
that's
like,
good.
yeah, I feel like yeah, shortening those gaps, and just doing like peer support groups, legal advocacy, group therapy, early intervention, and my why was to rebuild their lives, and also breaking the cycle of generational domestic and family violence, and yeah, getting in early with those 12 to 14-year-olds, but then also anyone can be a victim at any age. So also having those kind of therapy groups, and yeah, getting people to come in and do like art therapy and things like that. But also,
Yeah.
I think I discussed when I was in my breakout, in engaging with sector professionals, and also building a positive rapport with police and youth justice workers,
Yeah.
through these kind of programs and workshops, because
Yeah.
I think, yeah, there's often, when you grow up in that domestic family violence type of situation, you've got that stigma around like the police, they're bad people, and we don't want them around, but it's not
Yeah.
true. They can help you. They're there to help you.
They can.
Trying to teach young
There's a
people how
book.
to,
Yeah,
yeah.
there's a book called Pajama Boy,
Oh yeah, I haven't heard of it.
written by a police officer,
Yeah.
and his name is Stephen Murphy.
Mhm.
And he became a police officer, but his lived experience is yeah, it's called Pajama Boy. If you can find it,
Yeah.
I highly recommend it. Steve was the first police officer that wore a camera,
Yeah.
and they called him Cam Cop
Oh, yeah,
before
right.
cameras came in. So his story is incredible.
Okay. Well,
Incredible.
thank you for that. I'll have a look.
Yeah, I think you might like that. It might put just another layer in there for you.
Yes.
And Steve does go out and talk to schools. He talks to the kids before they go to high school,
Yep. Yeah.
because that's the age that these things were happening for him.
Yeah, well, see, I already work in industry, and I hear comments that are like, "Oh no, the pigs," and like blah blah blah, and I'm like, who's putting that idea in your head? Like, it's coming from parents, and it's like, no, I said they're actually good people. They can actually help you out. Like, let's talk about that a bit more.
Yeah,
Like,
and if you build that bridge, where they go to the young people rather than the other way around,
yes,
they may have the opportunity to do that. So, but in domestic family violence, if the police turn up and they do nothing, young people will form their view, and most of the time police will do nothing.
yeah, I think that.
So maybe their truth is true for them.
Yes, and I mean, what you've just said is truth for me, and they did nothing, and it's unfortunate that, but I wish I had known that there was people to help as well, and I didn't know the help was there.
No, that's right. So, closing that gap sounds great. Changing the dynamics. Also, you're kind of teaching the police how to be better at what they do as well. I kind of like that lens over it as well. So you're right, there are good ones there. So yeah, sure, Matt, happy to wait back for you. Look, it's past 9. I'm really mindful that everyone's really busy, but I didn't want anyone to be sitting in the room with a burning question that I haven't answered. Matt's just asked, can I stay back and work with him, which I will. Are there any other questions that anyone had? I'm so sorry, but you've just got iPad there, but I don't know your name, and I know I saw your hand come up, and then I felt I was really like, what do I call you?
No, I'm so sorry. My name's Georgia. It just because I usually do it on my computer, but my computer doesn't have the camera. So, but no, it's Georgia.
I will try and remember. I've got a Georgia. I will try and remember you, Georgia.
That's all right.
But Georgia, you had your hand up earlier. What was your question?
So I've got all the who, what, when, and why. I'm focusing on family domestic violence.
Yes.
And I just got a question. Like you said something about the go-cards, which I thought was really interesting. But I was wondering, like, could you make a go-card, but then can you also make another service as well, like a community group service where there's activities?
100%.
So what I was thinking, like, you make a go-card, but on that go-card, there'd also be like group communities in that thing.
Love that. Love
yes,
that.
that's what I was thinking.
What's that? What do you call that thing that you open it up and then the kids go, pick a number and open it up?
Oh, the chatterbox.
Yeah, you can get those printed and they get one, and then it's very interactive as well. So they fold over into each other a bit like a fidget kind of a thing. There's more than one way to do your card as well. So just
interesting.
Think outside the square a little bit with that for yourself. Like, why will they treat that differently? And because
so getting them to
it
question
does something. Yeah.
Okay, I like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
So,
making it like a little like group activity with young kids.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So always go a bit deeper with it. What else can I do with this if I want to bring something in? Because in that mindfulness moment when they're doing a craft or an art or an activity, they go into their alpha frequency of their brain and you're programming. So they already have things programmed into their brain. You are reprogramming them. And so it's calm. They're in a regulated space. They're in their window of tolerance. They're doing something creative. They're having fun. And you're talking about a fairly heavy topic. They're starting to do the hope and healing in that space by creating an environment that's safe for them to do that.
So for an activity with like the chatterbox thing, would it be older than 12 or would it be younger than 12?
Oh, you might have the kit already and then they put it all together. So the older ones may not need it, but the younger ones, you might already have it and go, you get to decorate it. And
because I feel like the older ones, they might be a little bit, that's a bit boring, that's a bit kiddish. But the younger ones, like they would love that. They would think that's so fun. Yeah. And that could be more of an education type thing.
Yeah.
Okay, that's interesting.
It's whatever you want it to be, Georgia.
Yeah.
So just think, who am I pitching this to? What would they be interested in? And test it. Find someone and say, I've got this kind of idea. And sometimes they can't articulate, but it's like, I've got these 3. Which one do you like best? Like, rather than have them come up with nowhere, no information, no development to be able to do that, give them choice and go, I've been thinking about this, and then narrow it down. So like, here's groups of colors. what ones do you reckon I should do? Even designing a brochure or a poster, if you get young people involved in it, then it's like you're hearing directly from your target group.
I like that. That's very interesting.
Okay, cool. Great.
Another question I quickly had is
Yeah.
the quizzes. Do we do the quizzes and the modules before we start the project?
Yeah, there's only the quiz, task 1, and there's task 2, but task 2 has the role plays in it. So I say there's 3 things to do, but when you open up your porthole, it only has task 1 and task 2.
Yeah, okay.
But task 2 is the project and the role plays.
Okay, perfect.
Okay.
Amazing. Thank you.
You're welcome, Georgia. Okay.
Good night, Vicky.
Good night, Virginia. Thank you. Have a great week, everyone. I'm just going to stay back for Matt. But listen, have a wonderful week. And if you need something, reach out.
Thank you. Bye.
Oh, I want to let you know, if no one's done CHCCOM002 and you need it, I am doing that on Saturday morning at 11 a.m. I'm doing it tomorrow night, but it's completely booked out. But if
What's that one? Sorry.
CHCCOM002.
That's the communication one, yeah.
It is. That's facilitator meeting, task 3.
Yeah.
I've got some people who are going to come to it just to watch other people. So I'm not saying you have to do it, but I am running that. And that's an assessor-led one. And you have to wait month by month for it to come up.
You've already passed me on that, haven't you? I just got to do the documentation for it, don't I?
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, great.
Which one was it, Vicky? Sorry.
Sorry, Tessa. Oh,
building relationships.
Yes, COM002.
Oh, 002. Use communication to build relationships.
Yeah.
Let me check if I've done it. Conducted in real time with
Kirsten,
assessor.
I think you've done that.
No, I haven't. So yeah, I've got it here. Conducted with assessor.
Yeah, it's got to be done with 4 others.
Yes. So you're available Saturday morning.
11 till 1. That's okay. I am doing it tomorrow night. That might be short notice for you.
Yes, I've got netball tomorrow at 7. That's all right. I'll email you or
All right,
LSO.
we'll do it in a month.
Yep.
Every month I do that. It's a core unit. Every single qualification does that unit. So, and we organise the other 4 people for you.
Okay.
Okay, so you just got to say when you're ready.
Yep. All right.
Awesome.
Thank you, Vicky.
Okay.
Good
You're
night.
welcome. Good night. All right. Good night, Tessa. Good night, Lillian. Hugh, are you good?
I'm going to talk to you after class as well before.
Yes, I can give you a couple of minutes. I've got an appointment. Yeah, I've got an appointment with Matt. So
I message in class to talk to you after class as well. So
sorry, I missed that. I've got time to do one. I actually have someone booked in to do a role play in 20 minutes.
Okay. No, it's all good.
Are we good? Do you want to pick another time through the week before next Tuesday?
Tomorrow?
Yeah. I should be finished. I don't know if it's not too late. I can jump out of my role plays and at 8:30 I finish them. Is that too late, or would you like to maybe go before?
8:30 tomorrow?
Yeah.
I can do 8:30 after your role plays.
Yeah. So do you want to send me an email otherwise before I start? So I could do 6.
Yeah, I can do 6.
6 is okay. Yeah. Will you send me an email and remind me, and I'll send us out a Zoom link?
Yeah, no worries.
Brilliant. And then you and I can have 40 minutes or something together.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
All right. Bye.
Okay. Thanks, Lillian. Bye. Sorry, did someone just put up that they wanted to do a viewing? What does that mean? Is that a jump in and watch somebody else do role plays? Is that? Okay, not sure.
Yeah,
Right,
that's me.
oh, sorry.
Yeah, Yeah, that's me. I want to watch when they do the role play so I can have an idea, if I don't mind.
Are you up to that role play though?
Yes.
So have you done task 1 and task 2 of CHCCOM002?
Is that for communication?
Pardon?
Is that communication?
No, it's a different one. The unit is CHC. I'll just put it here in our chat for you. So it is CHCCOM002, and there are 4 tasks, and I am doing task 3 in role plays, and you will need to have completed task 1 and 2 before you can do task 3. So if you're not there, just wait till that comes around again for you. If you want to know how role plays are done, you contact learner support officers on lso@haiderinstitute.edu.au. Let me just put that up for you, institute.edu.au, and ask them for the link to Discord, because Discord has about 12 recordings and information, little mini recordings on how to do role plays. And there's even a couple of role plays that are done to demonstrate for you. That might be your best way, Caroline, first.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. Is that okay?
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, it's good to do the role plays, get the information, and then when you're ready to do a particular role play, and you're up to that with your studies, then you are very welcome to come in and have a look if it's a group one before you do your own. It'll just be a month between looking and then being able to do it. But you need to have done task 1 and task 2 before you can do task 3 and task 4 of that one.
Okay, all right.
Okay. Otherwise,
Okay, thank you.
it might confuse you rather than help.
Okay.
I don't want to show you how to do the wrong thing very well.
Okay, understand.
Okay, but there are role plays for you to watch in recordings, and they're amazing. Or you're very welcome to email me. Just make it Vicky, VIKI at haiderinstitute.edu.au, and I will send you a couple of recordings.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate it.
You're very welcome.
Yeah.
All right, Caroline, have a great week.
Okay, good night.
All right,
Yeah.
bye. So welcome back, everybody. Look, we just had a little bit of a break. We were touching base with everybody on what they needed, where they're up to, just a bit of study. Just wanted to remind everybody that you can have a one-on-one with your trainer and assessor, or one of the other trainers and assessors in our team, and our learner support officers will guide you into this space as well. But for tonight, we started off talking about the questions and answers around a project, a community development project. And then the framework means, how do we set one up? Where do we even start? We start with an idea, and that's our what. And our what would be for this unit, the CHCCDE019. You can pick 6. But tonight we were talking about, there were some people who actually had more than one, and that they complemented each other really well. So you can put both in there, provided you speak about both of them when you're working your way through what your aims are, what your goals But doing your role play, your presentation about your project, you're only doing one of those. You're only having that discussion. What it means is that the target group that you want to work with, those young people, will have coexisting needs. They'll have more than one thing that is impacting their lives, and your project will cover both those things. So it is not uncommon to be working with someone who has addiction issues, who is also homeless. And there's 3 levels of homelessness. There is primary, which means they're sleeping rough. There's secondary, which means they're very transient. They've got to, like, maybe couch surfing or sleeping on the floor at a friend's or a very overcrowded place. And then there's tertiary homelessness, which means I can only be here for 6 weeks and then I've got to move on. So, but they may also be a person that has some addictive patterns of behaviour. Some crisis and emergency accommodation will not take someone who is having struggles with addiction. So the project that I work with, the program outside of HADA, we have a harm minimisation model. Now, that means that we may have had someone who was on ice and we will work with them, but that doesn't mean they're not smoking weed. Now, there are some homeless programs which are zero tolerance. Ours is harm minimisation. The reason why our model is that is because we know that no one else will take them. So we fill the gap, an unmet need in the community. But to do that, our other eligibility is they must be learning. They must be a student. So it might be they have to study and get their first aid. It might be that they finish high school and do their senior certificate. They might do a literacy and numeracy program. They cannot come into our program and park themselves. So we are student accommodation, and it doesn't even matter if they're holding down a full-time job. They must study something. That is the eligibility requirement. So they can have very high and complex needs and still be at risk of homelessness, and maybe holding down a job, but their job is at risk if they don't have stable accommodation. So Kirby House is designed purely for that purpose. But who are our target group? A lot of them, addiction, repeat offenders in the juvenile justice system, so young people at risk, looking for work, career planning, health and well-being, impacted by their mental health, experiencing anxiety and depression. Both of those 2 things go together. May be witness to or no longer able to live at home because of some form of abuse, whether it's domestic and family violence, or they were that targeted young person in their home, which is often referred to as the garbage can kid. So tonight we spoke a little bit about different stories and examples, what people might like to choose to do for their project. You may not yet know what you're going to do, and you may not quite have it narrowed down. But next week we'll do more on this, and of course you'll have the pre-recording. Try not to overthink it. Any one of those could be great, and you aren't required to go out in the public and speak to people, but you need to be able to do some research and think of questions you would ask if you were speaking to people. You might get your information from another program that's happening interstate, where you go, oh, they're doing that there and I like that. I'm going to take some of that and bring it over into my project and just modify it for the target group, the age group I want to work with. Or I might want to do that on a Saturday afternoon. Or I might want it to be open to families that aren't necessarily young people at risk and that they may have stable family life, but that doesn't mean they're not struggling with knowing who they are and where they fit in. So yours might be around well-being, just mental health and well-being, and about all of the doubts that young people have and help them build their confidence and their resilience. That might be where your project goes, and your own ideas have a place here. So you'll do a bit of research. You'll find out if there's anything already happening like that in your local community. And if there is, you can get a bit of information from that. Often you'll get it from a website, but it might be there's a great one overseas. There might be one that's interstate. I know when I ran a mentorship program, I was doing it through a business women's network, and I wanted us to do something for young women coming through. But I got the program from New South Wales, from a school that was running it there. And I said, I want to be able to do the same here. And they said, oh, here, have a copy of our program. And we modified that. And then I just got people in the local community who wanted to mentor young women who were in grade 11 or 12, their final years of high school. And it was really interesting because we did a bit of career planning, but we also had the health and well-being, and some of them we had realised had been experiencing some form of abuse in their home. So often we can look at a young person on the outside and think, oh, they don't seem to need us, but we don't know. There's that silent 85% who never seem to stand out, like the top 5% or the bottom 5% who struggle, or those who are high achievers. It's that silent group who often won't put their hand up and say, hey, I'm stuck, I need help. They're the ones that we're going to work with most of the time. So this is our prevention. Think about your why you wanted to be in this space and who you might like to work with. And this is theory only. You're not going to run the project, but you want to look into it. If I was going to run a project, what would I like it to be? So tonight we heard about out-of-home care. We heard about drumming. We heard about other projects. And we've got some people who still aren't quite sure what they would like to do. So walk around this and just pick one area that you would like to do. Go back to your original why. Why am I studying Certificate 4 in youth work? Bring it back. I want to be able to work with young people. Which young people? What age? What way? And that'll help you start to zero in on just run a pilot project. Just have an idea and see what that looks like for you. Okay, so this one here, it's got pick something and then research it. I talked about underpinning structural social issues, which is your who, what, how, when, where, and why. And then we talked about it might be goals that you want to achieve. Or anyone that does my career planning one, I want them to walk away with a resume or a profile and 2 referees that will speak to their character, even if they have no employment history. How do they introduce themselves? And I might call it, I'm a walking, talking business card to what kind of questions are they going to ask you? How do you talk about what strengths you would bring to that space? And sometimes young people won't be able to think of those things for themselves. Our project and program would be, I'll help them find those strengths in themselves. And then there's lots of resources and tools available to you to be able to use that in a project. And I'm happy to show you how. So you've got to have at least 5 goals. Well, if it was career planning, know what my strengths and my weaknesses are. Know 2 people that I could use as referees for me. that they will be able to research an industry or a career path and be able to name 2 or 3 that they would like to go into, that they have explored more about the job that they would like to do, apprenticeships, traineeships maybe, and then that they would have a current resume or a profile on themselves. And we might even bring in some employers who talk about the work that they do and what they offer, especially people who employ young people straight away. You'll give it a title. I gave you one on career planning. I'm a walking, talking business card. I give you that one because that's a project that I ran. And it was one of the very first ones that I ever did because I left one industry and came into the community sector. So I showed people who were on a low income how to go and buy an outfit for $20 or less and to be interview ready. So we did before and afters, we did all that kind of stuff, and it was fun because it can cost money to go into that space as well. Even when I'm working with young people who are going before the courts, to tell them not to wear a t-shirt that's printed, that has a statement on it, to just have a plain coloured shirt on is more respectful in the court process, because young people don't realise that they are being judged. First of all, they're young, and secondly, what is happening for them. And it is unfair, but that is what happens. And so we only get a very short period of time to make a first impression, but it can take years for people to change their mind about that. And young people don't always have that reflection around it. So we think about that and we ask them to go back to, you might be 15 now, but do you think you're going to change in 5 years' time when you're 20? And they'll oftentimes say, no, I'm not going to change this how it is. And then I'll say, well, you're 15 now. Let's go back 5 years. Are you different today to what you were when you were 10? And they go, of course I am. So just the realization that time can take them back, and they were very young, to, can I imagine my life at 15, what I'm going to be like at 20? And so a lot of young people, to set a long-term goal can be 2 weeks. That's a long-term goal for some young people because they don't have that vision. Or some young people could be thinking so far ahead, they can't get the day-to-day stuff sorted out because they're living in the future. So we talk to young people about their mental health, where anxiety lives in the future and depression lives in the past, and we want them to be fully present in the here and now. So when you run a project or you run a program, you're working with those young people for here and now and build on from there. So you'll break down your project and we give you the template and you put your ideas in here. 1 or 2 paragraphs here is pretty good. Your income source funding, that could be donations, could be grants, could be sponsorship. Relay for Life was a sponsorship. In kind. So they might want their logo out there to promote. They are a sponsor. That could be a way that they go, a grant. It could be the gambling. Oh, yeah, it could be the gambling one. I can usually get some funds out of that. So that could be, you might go, you can't spend it on wages, but you can spend it on things. So some people might use the gambling fund to buy a bus and resources for their program. So, but they might only go for 5,000 and then they will just get resources. So they go for 5,000 and then there might be resources get donated. So that could be, I know someone did a graffiti program, so they had spray paint donated and they had a palette. And they went to council and, whoops, can't spell, sorry, my dyslexia is jumping in. They went to council and said, could we have a public wall? And we were working with young people to not vandalize public sites or tag a space, to actually put their art up there where it could be seen. Then we showed them how to put it onto screen printed t-shirts. Then we showed them how to turn them into cards as well and stickers. So then they had a little micro business, and then they were too busy having fun, making money, to maybe do something else where it was fun and getting money, but maybe walking on the opposite side of where it was going to get them where they wanted to go. So think of your project as a prevention, no matter what topic you choose, keeping young people engaged and helping them build their confidence. That is, who am I and where do I fit in? And taking their rightful place in our community. So things like this, it's just break it down and ask yourself a question. So you can do your work and you can save your answer. It's only when you've answered all of them that it will say submit, ready to submit. You submit your work, and if it's not quite there, you'll get feedback and we'll guide you of what the gaps might be as well. Okay, so that's task 1, being the quiz. Task 2 is your project, and then delivering the project to just a group of your peers in class, and we'll demonstrate some of those in class, and we will also have those recorded so you can watch them. Even if you don't do it for your assessment, we will do it as a mock rock play as well, so that we give you an opportunity of, here's one we have prepared earlier. So I'm hoping that we'll be able to clarify a bit of that for you as well. And of course, if you are needing some additional support, I'll just stop sharing there. And I'm just going to change my background so I can give you our email address for our learner support officers, who are amazing. And look, they are your first point of contact. So L, lowercase l, lso@hayderinstitute.edu.au. And if you're going to be contacting me, just put my name in front of it, which is VIKI, and then just put @hayderinstitute.edu.au. Reach out to me if you need it. But because we all do different rosters and we are a night college, it may not be immediate where I answer that back. And if you haven't heard from me in a couple of days, please just send me another email. But contact the learner support officers, or do both. Contact them and CC me into it, so I've got an idea of what it is that you're needing support with. The learner support officers work from 10 a.m. through till 7 p.m, Monday through to Friday, and there's a team of them. So your trainers and assessors work at different times. And so because we work at nights, we will try and get some of that other work done during the day, which could mean a one-on-one with you as well. So please reach out, or if you've got a question about it, just say what the unit code is and what the task number. And if it's question number 11 out of 14, then just say, I'm stuck on question number 11, and I'll give you some guidance and point you in the right direction just to help. So I want to say thank you for tonight, and this recording will go out. I'll make sure that you get this sent out to you tomorrow. But I also, if you haven't got your recording and you haven't got your resources, please let LSO know that that's not in your student portal yet. Okay, so they are the ones who have full control over that. So it will be them that you need to go to for any of that support. And I do apologise, the First Access site being down, but you don't need it. You need your learner's guide and you need my pre-recording and you need the slides that I use for the pre-recording. All of those should be out with you. If it's not there tonight, it will definitely be there overnight. If not, learner support officers will make sure it goes out to you. So I'll see you next Tuesday, if not before, by email or else. Otherwise, have an amazing week and we'll pick up again next week for our Cert 4 in youth work. Thanks, everybody.